On the home front. Not all women could work on the battlefield. Most stayed home and took care of the families. They filled the jobs that had been held by men. They ran stores and planted crops. In addition, they worried. Women in the South often had to move their families and belongings, as homes and towns were destroyed. They also had to deal with shortages of supplies caused by the North's blockade. Prices increased sharply. The average Southern family's monthly food bill rose from $6.65 just before the war to $68 by 1863. Almost no one could afford food. In April of that year, hundreds of women in Richmond, Virginia, rioted to protest the rise in prices. Women in other Southern cities rioted over the price of bread, too. When they could, women hid their livestock as the armies came through. Hungry soldiers would kill and eat all the chickens and pigs. Of course, the army would take any other food they could find, too. Often, after an army had passed through, the civilians were left starving. This was the case when the Union Army marched through the South. Women also hid possessions from the enemy soldiers. These included items that had been in their families for generations. People in the North read about the war. Many sent husbands or sons to fight. In the South, families struggled with the direct effects of the war's destruction. 5. Identify 3 things you would take with you if you had to escape before an enemy army came. Women in wartime. Women on both sides contributed to the war effort. In addition to being nurses on the battlefield or keeping farms and family businesses running, they sewed clothing and made bandages. They sold personal possessions to raise money and sent food to the armies. Some women traveled with their soldier husbands and sons, cooking for them, nursing them, and helping them. A few women even became soldiers. Frances Cleland, for example, disguised herself as a man so that she could fight in the Union Army. Sojourner Truth, an African-American and former slave, had worked for abolition before the war and would work for women's rights after the war. During the war, she gathered supplies for African-American regiments. A popular speaker, she often told stories of her life as an enslaved person. Some women became spies. Women had clever ways to carry secret documents, such as maps and messages. Documents and even weapons could be hidden under the large hoop skirts they wore. Belle Boyd, nicknamed La Belle Rebelle, was one of the most famous female Confederate spies. Union soldiers arrested her 6 times, but she kept spying for the Confederates. After one arrest, Boyd communicated to a Confederate by hiding messages inside rubber balls and throwing them between the bars of her cell windows.